Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ukulele Underground Podcast. My name is Aldrine Guerrero, joined by Mr. Aaron the Voice Nakamura. Say what's up, Aaron.
What's up?
And Mr. Kahai the Legend Fergan. Say what's up, Kahai.
What's up?
It is Thursday, 1 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. That means it's time for the Ukulele Underground live podcast. Yes, we are live. That means all of you UU Plus subscribers can talk to us, interact, ask us questions. Or if we get questions via email, via all that good stuff, if someone texts us, messages us via the website, we'll try to answer any and all questions here on this podcast. Sometimes we don't, sometimes people are good and sometimes they don't need any help. And pretty much because the website is there. If any questions that they may have, we most likely have a video on it, right, Kahai?
Yeah, a lot of times.
Have we ever come across a question that we didn't already have a video for, or some kind of podcast for?
No, it was funny. There's somebody who asked a question. I was like, oh, okay, that's a great question. We'll ask it during the podcast.
Right.
And then later on, they're like, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you guys answered it in a podcast 50 episodes ago. I'm going through the old podcast and I just saw it. I'm like, no, that's fine.
I mean, we've talked about subjects repeatedly on this podcast, but every single time that we bring up a question that we've had in the past, there was always something new that we've added, to whatever question they may have, or we're taking a look at it from a different angle. So don't be afraid to ask us questions that are already that we've already answered before. There might be someone that is listening to the podcast for the very first time. It doesn't have enough time to listen to 50 episodes, Kahai, that's...
Well, it's 30 episodes of when we started calling it the Ukulele Underground Podcast, but 100 and more episodes of before.
See, so we don't mind. We like getting questions, we like talking about stuff, because sometimes, most of the time I should say, someone asks us one or two questions, and that's it for the whole hour. We talk about that one or two, especially if Mike is here, we have one question and it lasts for 30 minutes. Or
that's how it works with Mike in real life too. You're just hanging out with Mike.
Usually we ask Mike one question from the audience, right? And then while we're listening to him, we're like, but what about this, Mike? We come up with our own questions.
or sometimes if you just let him go, if you just let Mike go, in real life, if you guys ever meet Mike in real life, set aside a lot of time, because Mike is gonna talk your ear off, and it's good too. It's not a bad kind of thing. He's always very informative, of stuff that he talks about, because he's so experienced and he's had so many so many musical experiences in the past, and he just wants to tell people. I've never seen anyone, and we've talked about this before, more enthusiastic about music, or so happy about about music, or talking music, or making music, or connecting with people that do music than Mike. I think Mike he's not necessarily the most musical person I know, but he is the most musical person I know, only because his whole life revolves around music. The people he surrounds himself with, the his education came from music, his job, everything, his whole life is music.
Yeah, I think if you go into a music store, you meet a rep, and it's okay, this guy is trying to sell me an instrument, or trying to sell me on something.
Right.
Mike will start handing you instruments and telling you about stuff, and whether you buy it or not, he's just excited to talk to you about whatever. He's oh, try this next, or try this. Oh, what about this? Are you looking for that? So every time I go into the music store, I'm I don't know if I'm going to buy anything, but it's pretty fun just to talk with Mike and have him show me around.
Yeah. The last time I went to the music store, I actually went with you guys and stuff. And I wasn't planning on buying anything. I'm planning to just go there and hang out for the most part, right? And Mike sold me two things while we were there. I bought two things from the music store, and I'm what happened? What happened? So I bought a windscreen for my microphone that I didn't even know I guess I knew I needed, but I didn't think I was gonna buy it then. And then I told him the last time that Mike was on the podcast, we talked about this the stick-on pickup for the ukulele, and I bought that too. So Mike is, I don't know how he does it. He's really good with his with his words, and just getting you fired up about music. And I'm
No, well, we were talking about this a week or two ago.
Yeah.
About just because like not even about selling, right? He works in a music store, so like that's sort of his job. But like just in everyday life, he doesn't discriminate at all.
No.
So like
whatever your skill level is.
If you're into music, like it doesn't matter if you've toured the entire world or if you've just started playing. He'll like talk to you about music like you're a legit musician, and like like this is the bond that we have between each other. Like I like music, you like music, and like
we're friends. We're
that's
best
it.
friends.
That's it. Yeah, like that's all he.
Yeah.
And even then, even to like people who aren't into music, he has that connection, but he has even more of a connection to people who even like music.
Yeah, and I think it shows. Like every time that he's on the podcast, it definitely shows. From the stuff that he says and whatnot. Yeah. And I mentioned earlier, and like any episode could be someone's first episode. If this is someone's first episode, we're talking about Magic Mike. He's a frequent guest here on the Ukulele Underground podcast. So it's always a treat having him because he really lights up the room musically, like in every room that he walks into. Yeah. So, but yeah, gang, we have a lot to talk about today. Like just personally, because we do get questions, but today I want to address some things because there's going to be some big changes coming up, okay? The biggest change... The biggest change is going to be this is going to be... I don't even want to say it out loud. It pains me to say it, but it has to happen. And I'll explain why, okay? Today, Thursday... Okay, this is going to be the last Ukulele Underground podcast on a Thursday. Let's lead off with that. Yeah. Today is the last.
We already got rid of the Thursday live lesson moniker. so
it was. I guess it was a way to ease ourselves on Thursdays. But there will no longer be Ukulele Underground live podcast on Thursdays. Okay, so there's going to be no live stream on Thursdays like at all. Okay, except maybe the open mic for now. The open mic is safe. I think the open mic is staying on Thursdays, right? I think that's what we talked about. Yeah, first Thursdays of the month is going to be the Ukulele Underground open mic, which is today. Today is the first Thursday of November. So we're gonna have an Ukulele Underground open mic today, and it's going to be an open mic every first Thursday of the month. We'll keep that until further notice. Like if we hear something, we'll definitely let you guys know. But yeah, so. Ukulele Underground Podcast will no longer be on Thursdays. The Ukulele Underground Podcast will now move to Fridays at 1 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. And you're probably saying, Aldrine, isn't that Aloha Friday Live Jam? Oh, hang on to your hats. Because, oh man, that's cool. I'll say it. I'll be the guy. Just say it. We will be alternating weeks between Ukulele Underground Podcast and Aloha Friday Live Jam. That means, yes, you heard that right. We're going to be alternating between the two. That means, so next week, for example, is going to be Aloha Friday Live Jam, and there will be no Ukulele Underground Podcast next week. The week after that, it's going to be Ukulele Underground Podcast on Friday at 1, but no Aloha Friday Live Jam. So we're cutting back on our live streams, and I'll tell you why. Because we have a bunch of projects that we're working on right now, and if I'm gonna be extremely transparent with you guys, the three guys in the room right now make up Ukulele Underground. Like that's. We have some other guys also, but for the most part, the active members of Ukulele Underground, that's the best way to say it. Production. I don't want to discredit the other people that are working behind the scenes for Ukulele Underground. But the three guys in the room are the production team for Ukulele Underground. I'm in front of the camera. I deal with the content that gets created here at Ukulele Underground, and Aaron and Kahai they both handle different shows, but they basically film and edit everything. We don't have we don't outsource it. We don't do any of that stuff. The editors, the filmers, everyone is here. There's 3 guys working everything.
Plus, we do production, and then we also do like everything else too. Where it's like you're doing private lessons, and then we do we help out where customer support and everything else too. So yeah, we're juggling other stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot on our plates right now, and I would love to tell you guys everything because it's very, very, very exciting. I can tell you guys a little bit. I mean, I'm gonna double check with what I can share, what I can and can't share. But there are some that are definitely gonna happen, and I think I can share with you folks. But yeah, so let's get this part straightened out first. We will be alternating between the 2 shows every Friday at 1 p.m. Okay, so it's either going to be Aloha Friday Live Jam or the Ukulele Underground Podcast. Okay, so the Ukulele Underground Podcast and the Aloha Friday Live Jam will no longer be weekly. They will be alternating weeks. Just making sure everyone understands that, all right? And if you're wondering, which one is it going to be? That's a great question, because all you have to do is log on to Ukulele Underground and check the calendar. If you check the calendar, it'll show you every time, which show it's going to be on Friday. If it's either going to be Aloha Friday Live Jam or if it's going to be the Ukulele Underground Podcast. But there's a little bit of good news. It's going to be we like how the Ukulele Underground Podcast is right now, but we would love to see it a lot more livelier. Okay, which means we would love to get more questions, more feedback from the audience, and things like that. More people participating in the songwriting challenges. We want to do all these things. So the move to Friday for the Ukulele Underground Podcast, we will open it up to everyone, but we will take the questions from the Ukulele Underground Plus members first. Is that going to be on the Discord or everyone's? Okay.
I mean, you guys can send it into Discord or forum, or I think you guys all know how to get questions into us. But if you guys like watching the podcast on Ukulele Underground while talking to other UU Plus members, that's still gonna happen. Yeah,
that's on Discord. But we will, just like Aloha Friday Live Jam, it will be streaming on YouTube, and YouTube people can watch and comment and ask questions and stuff like that. But we'll always take the questions from the Ukulele Underground Discord first, Ukulele Underground Plus Discord first, before we take questions from the YouTube audience. But bringing in the YouTube audience and making the Ukulele Underground Podcast public will create better, I feel like it's going to create better content, better interaction between us and anyone who's interested in learning ukulele. Because although UU Plus members get to watch this first, before the move, and get to ask questions live and stuff like that, there are tons of people who download the podcast and we get questions via emails and stuff. We would love for everyone to participate, honestly, and I think the ukulele should be that way, and that this show should be the same way, because it's kind of like a town hall, anyone who's interested in learning to play the ukulele or would like to ask me a question should be able to, and I believe that we should help out as much people as we can, and we love exclusive stuff, and UU Plus members still get tons of exclusive things. Like, for example, the private lessons are still just for UU Plus members, and of course, pretty much all the UU Plus solos, everything else is still going to be there in UU Plus. But we want to open up this show to have as much interaction as possible, to be able to help out as many people as possible as well. I mean, if we're of any help, sometimes we just add to the damage. But that's going to be the main change, that we're doing. Kahai and Aaron, like we've been filming some stuff in the works. These guys, come in on Thursdays and Fridays here at the office to film this. Kahai does all the streaming, and Aaron, he talks and plays with me on these live streams and stuff. The 3 of us are occupied. Every time I'm on screen and live, that means no other work can be done, right? Like no other work can be done while I'm here streaming. So that means production comes to a halt. Okay, so it just gives the guys an extra day to be editing and putting out more content. So it seems, and it is, like we're cutting back on content, and we are by keeping it just Friday instead of Thursday and Friday. But the output of other content is going to be worth it. Okay, so one thing that I feel like I can share. Can we share Can we share that? And we're gonna open back up. I think so. I think that's part of our plans. So we will be reopening what was once the marketplace. And that means, like people can get lessons and videos and stuff and over on the marketplace. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what we're going to be calling it and stuff, but we are reviving the Ukulele Underground Marketplace or shop or whatever people want to call it. But we'll update you guys with that as it comes. So we're going to be bringing that back up. We'll be putting up the stuff that we've been working on over there. Okay, on the marketplace. So lots of new content will be coming up. We have we're trying to get something out for Christmas. New Year's is just around the corner. So we're really busy and piled up with a bunch of the projects that we've been working on. So just sit tight. But I think it's going to be fun. I think if we have a Aloha Friday Live Jam every week, people are like, I can just catch it next week. It's fine. If I miss it, it's fine. So we want to create kind of like a can't miss. You got to be there or else you're going to wait 2 weeks until you see the next Aloha Friday Live Jam. And people can kind of plan for it and stuff. I think it'll be nice. And and it'll create good discussion, because even though if somebody shows up wanting to do the Aloha Friday Live Jam, if they show up, for the Ukulele Underground podcast, they can instead learn a thing or two, instead of just jamming or sitting back and just fooling around with the chat or whatever. People can actually sit down and learn something with the ukulele, and they're like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that you can change strings and the thing will sound different or whatever we talk about here in the podcast, So I think it's good, but just trust us as you guys have done before. We were asking you to trust us again, and we're gonna be putting out some fun stuff in the future. I can't share any more than that, but yeah, I'm excited for the new changes that we call on there, and I think we've hinted at all these changes for the past however many months now, and it's gonna start to happen soon. Okay, so just wanting to get that out of there. Any complaints, put it my way. Don't give it to these guys. These guys did nothing. I am putting an executive decision. I'm putting down my executive foot to now move everything to Fridays so that these guys can have an extra day to be working on some special projects. Okay, that's super transparent. I can't get any more transparent than that.
We got the word from corporate.
Yeah, I can't get any more transparent than that. It's just, it's getting crazy. So and we're trying to put some new stuff together, because we've had the same 2 live shows, and we've had UU Plus solos and the lesson. That's always been consistent throughout the whole year. We haven't really added anything new as far as new shows or new things that we're doing. Maybe the open mic. We did the open mic this year, or is it last year? Yeah. So that's the only new thing that we did. So we want to keep things fresh and new. So we're working on some special projects so that we can bring in some new stuff for you folks. Okay. Trust us. Please, please trust us, because and don't be mad. Don't be mad. And we love you, but we'll still see you guys once a week, right, Kahai?
No, every other week for the podcast.
We'll still see you there. There's still going to be a live stream every week, Yeah.
So if you do both,
the live coaching is still going to be
the same. So. Live coaching will still be the same. It's going to be Friday after whatever stream that we do. So sometimes on Thursdays you see us sometimes twice. Sometimes we'll on the first Thursday of every month we still have the open mic, and then Friday we'll have either Ukulele Underground Podcast or Aloha Friday Live Jam. Yeah. And for those people who just come to the podcast and don't check out the Aloha Friday Live Jam, this would be the best time to do so because it's fun. That's when we can really, like loosen up our shoulders, unbutton our shirts, put on some sweatpants, and just let ourselves be ourselves, right, gang? At least I do. Mm-hmm. Last week I was dressed up as Cynthia Lynn, quote unquote, for that.
No, Cynthia was here.
Oh yeah, Cynthia was. Yeah, that's right. That's what it was. Kayfabe is alive, baby. So let's. Is there any other businesses that we should take care of before we move on, Kahai?
I think that's it, but maybe a reminder again that we have the open mic after this.
Yes, we do have the open mic after this. That's going to be at 2:30 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time if you want to jam a song or two, because we are doing 2 song sets for the open mic. If you want to do, a song or two, please come in at 2:20 so we can kind of count, we can do a head count on who's going to be performing. Even if you come late, you can still perform, it doesn't really matter, but we just like to get everyone there nice and early so that by the time 2:30 hits, we're jamming and we're getting underway instead of like 2:30. It's like, okay, cool, who wants to play? And then it takes another 5-10 minutes before we get started. So just for the sake of time, for those people who are interested, come early at 2:20, but show up whenever.
And everybody gets a 2-song
Yes,
set list?
everybody gets 2 songs for their set list, and then after that we move on to someone else. So you can either play 1 song or play 2 songs. It's it's super fun. We've been talking about this for quite a bit now. And we've been talking about this quite a bit here on the Ukulele Underground Podcast, on like how to create like a good set list and things like that. So yeah.
Okay. We do have a question.
Sure.
So Jim said, I greatly prefer the natural sound of ukulele, but some songs need a little extra. I am comfortable with mixing reverb and playing with the equalizer, but how about some thoughts about other effects? I understand that Jake used to use a lot of pedals in his early days. What does Aldrine love / hate?
Because it really depends on the situation. Like I don't hate things. I just think that like some things are inappropriate for certain settings. Like if I'm playing, say, like at a wedding, if someone's like, okay, cool, could you like play ukulele while I walk down the aisle or and it's, I rarely do this, but I guess I do. If I were to do that, I'm not gonna like put on distortion on my ukulele, that's a little inappropriate. But it doesn't mean I hate distortion, right, Kahai? Love me some cha-chang.
No,
right?
If you're not using distortion at all times, then that means you hate it. That means that you're not a real distortion user.
Yeah, like I've done songs like with distortion in it. I have done songs with phase shifters. I've done songs with like some crazy delays and stuff. So like there's a lot of things, and I think nobody should be like held back with their creativity. If you're recording something and it calls for a certain sound, just go for it. Like plug in whatever pedal that you have that fits. As long as it's appropriate, it should be okay. For example, if we're playing acoustically, these are just examples. I would put a reverb on my ukulele, if I'm plugging in, let's just say we're playing a gig. Let's do that. Let's do gig and let's do live studio after. Let's do gig, acoustic gig, very, very mellow. We're at a restaurant, like a nice sit down restaurant, not the kind like, a restaurant and then a rock band is playing, like a nice sit down restaurant. I'm playing ukulele. I'm just gonna plug into my DI, which then controls the EQ, the equalizer on my ukulele, like the lows, mids, and highs. I can contour the sound however I want to, and I do. Like I always use my Venue DI. I don't get sponsored by LR Bags to say that. That it is an awesome DI. I've been using it for years now, like maybe a decade now. It's been a long time since I've been using LR Bag's Venue, and I had never come across anything better for the size, for the compactability. It's compact. It's just
Travel.
Yeah, travel friendly. You know, like because most DIs, like most good DIs, you have to plug in, like or with an AC adapter or something. But this DI, like you can just put a 9-volt and it's totally fine. And it's an active DI. It's got like signal boost, so you can make yourself louder during picking, and or whatever else you need to boost yourself with. There's a built-in tuner, there's an EQ, there's there's gain and volume. It's great. It's I love that pedal. If I could only have one pedal for my ukulele, it would be the Venue DI. I said it here, like November 4 or whatever the date is today at 1:30 p.m. Aldrine said, if you can only have one pedal, it would be the Venue DI, and I think a lot of ukulele players that perform would agree with me, unless they have some other preference of DIs. But I think it's always the DI. Because and I've said this before on the podcast, the DI is like the microphone for your instruments. You can plug in directly to whatever sound system that you may have. But if you plug into a DI, it's kind of like going through a microphone for your ukulele for a live show. Okay. Now, I would add if I'm gonna add like effects to it. So getting to the effects part, I would add a little bit of reverb. Not too wet. A lot of people tend to go crazy with reverb. Another thing, the second thing, that would be the first thing that I would add. The second thing that I would add is a little bit of delay. Okay, so the ukulele is not that great with sustain and delay. Just kind of adds a little bit more to you when you're picking, especially if you're instrumentalists and stuff. Like if you're doing a lot of picking, for some songs, unless you're doing solo, maybe solo it might be a little bit distracting. But if you're playing with a band, or if you're playing with background music, delay helps out a lot. Okay. Basically that's it for acoustic. But some people would say, and not, I don't personally, but some people would say, a little bit of compression. Like some people might want a little bit of compression in their ukulele, just to kind of balance out whatever signals that the ukuleles might be putting out. My ukulele personally doesn't really need it, and I feel that compressors just make it too thick. I don't know how to explain it, but it sounds too electronic for me. But some people swear by it. I know Steven Espanola uses compressor on his, and he sounds great. Let's see, yeah. But other than that, I think those acoustic wise would be the best pedals for an acoustic live performance. Now, if it was if we're playing for a more livelier crowd, the first thing that I would add on top of that would be a wah pedal. That's just me personally. I would like to add a wah pedal, and then I would add a distortion pedal on top of that. Then on top of that, maybe if we're just going off, maybe like a phaser, But those are things that I feel isn't too much on the ukulele. And then of course, you got anything beyond that is just experimental. But those are pedals that I've experimented with, and I know works well with the ukulele, kind of, distortion maybe, like if you set up your ukulele enough, maybe, if you're fooling around with distortion, I would suggest covering the ukulele so that you don't get too much coming out and stuff. So what I did with when we did the Santana song, I just put like a towel in there, and it kind of muffled it so that all the signal will be coming out of my bridge, as opposed to getting some unwanted noise and what's the word I'm looking for, overtones and undertones from the instrument itself. So to prevent that, to kind of imitate a solid body ukulele, I just stuffed some towels in there. Okay. Let's see. And I think with any kind of a crazy pedal, crazy effect pedal, you might want to use that. If not, I would suggest a multi-effects pedal. That's always fun. Personally, I like using the 505 Zoom by Zoom. It works well with my ukulele. I like to add all the effects that I've talked about earlier. Some people like that big boss pedal. I know Kalea likes that big boss pedal. Oh, one pedal I didn't mention is loop pedal. Loop pedals are fun. Okay, I like using loop pedals. And that goes for acoustic or crazy show, but you don't really use it if you have other people jamming with you. Yeah, that's not really. I mean, I guess you could if you're good enough. Like I'm not good enough to like say if I was playing with Aaron, like I wouldn't be busting out my loop pedal. But yeah, so those are some like pedals that I'm down for. Okay, just as long as it's appropriate. Okay, and it depends on what song you're doing. Now for recording, if I'm in the studio, the effects that I add onto my ukulele definitely that's when I go with the EQ and the compression. So recording wise, I add a small bit of compression to the sound of my uke. All the UU monthly lesson songs that you guys hear on the play-alongs and stuff. What's on the main ukulele is EQ, compressor, and reverb. That's it.
Is that the order you go in?
Yes.
EQ, compressor, reverb?
Yeah, I EQ it first, then I compress it, and then reverb goes after. Okay? And then, I mean, the overall master, but that doesn't really count, I guess, So, yeah, that's... For recording wise, that's it. Unless it's a special, and like I said, it depends on the situation. If we're doing a song like a Santana song that requires, the distortion stuff like that, that's when I would add all those things. It just depends what the song is calling for. I've done distortion on like Bandito Tyler, the Suite 409 version of it. I've done like some heavy delay on minutes from the same album. So it's not like I hate those things because I've used them, so I don't want to sound like a hypocrite. Like, hey, you said you hated these, but in this album, yeah, I used a bunch of pedals. But you just have to be appropriate with your choices on what to add to your instrument. Also, it was a personal choice to stop using those things because I don't know, like, I just don't like when people talk. You know what I mean? Like when people talk and when people talk about like, oh well, like you could play anything with distortion would sound good, or you could play anything with like a wah on it or like a delay on it, it would sound good. So I'm like, all right, to silence the naysayers, Kahai, why don't I just take out everything and it'll be just ukulele, and then they can't say anymore, but people still talk, so I just stop listening.
Yeah, I also want to clarify when you said that when you record something like in the studio.
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you're actually plugged into your uke, right?
No, yeah, still
and you're recording your uke with, like, you could be recording your uke either plugged in or with a mic, and then you're running it through effects in your computer, not like effects pedals, right? So.
Yes and no. So yes, I just used a microphone, and then like I record my ukulele through a microphone, and then add those effects in for like the acoustic stuff. The one that I said is just EQ, compressor, and reverb. Like that's it. But for special projects like the Santana song Smooth, I mic'd up the the amp. So I plugged all my pedals and stuff, and then plug my ukulele into the amp, and then I mic that amp. I just don't like the sound of it being plugged directly in. Some people do, like Imwa Garza, for example, like one of the best ukulele players and one of the best ukulele producers, or just producers in Hawaii in general, uses a plugged-in ukulele. So who am I to be like, no, that's not how you do it, because Imua Garza does it and it sounds amazing. So unless you're Imua Garza and you really know what you're doing, it's really tough to hear that thump, from the ukulele because of its short scale. Because of its short scale, like every single hit that you hit with the ukulele, you're going to hear it because it's so short that the distance between where you hit your strings to get a good sound is like this much. Yeah, it's like this much on, far away from like the main pickup, which is right underneath your saddle right here. So that is not much. Okay, with the guitar, it's a lot, it's a lot more, so you don't really get that thump. Plus, it's like plastic strings. So,
But even then, for recording, usually guitarists use a microphone.
Yeah, microphone. Yes. But yeah. So the ukulele is terrible for that kind of thump sound. And for those of you folks who have ever plugged in an ukulele, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like that thump is like a nightmare, especially for like passive like ukuleles and stuff, or maybe not even. Like some active and some passive, like you can really hear that. But I guess more active than passive.
Yeah, but it's something that I think when people first plug in their uke, they probably don't even notice. It's like the thing about like, you're saying like your uke is like unbalanced, right? And then like a lot of people play with unbalanced ukes, but they don't even know that like what is a balanced or unbalanced uke. Like the thump is like, I think there's like people who plug in and they're just like, yeah, that's what my uke sounds like when it's plugged in, not realizing that it's like, no, you're not supposed to hear those things. Like that's kind of a byproduct of using like plugging it in and using a pickup, right? So like if you use a mic, then you're not gonna get that.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to perform with a microphone on the ukulele?
Yeah.
What are some considerations that you have to make when performing?
Well, if you're performing with a microphone to your ukulele, just stay put. You know what I mean? Like I like plugging in my instrument because it gives me the freedom to like, to go dance or move around and stuff. Yeah. But if you're one of those ukulele players who sit down when they play and stuff, go ahead. Use a microphone. I think that sounds better. Sonically, I think you get a nice natural sound with your instrument. But make sure to still like EQ it. A microphone is only gonna, it's gonna be flat. Like what I mean by that is like lows, mids, and highs frequencies are gonna be like right at zero, right at flat. It's not negative, it's not positive. So you might want to contour that so that you can get your ukulele to sound exactly what you want it to sound like. Just stay maybe like a foot away from the microphone. Be careful and be considerate of any noise that you're making. If you shift your chair or anything like that, because that's going to be a hot mic picking up everything, okay? And good things, if you're one of those ukulele players that do those like cool little, like golpe or whatever kind of percussive stuff with their, with their instrument, that's going to stand out like a lot, which is really cool. So if you're into doing that, microphone, miking up your ukulele is the way to go, all right? I have done so. But it's usually like sit down shows and I'm like a guest for like one song or something, I just come in, I put the the microphone about 6 inches to about a foot away. It just depends on your instrument, and
the mic too. So.
Yeah, and the mic and your range of motion with your with your hands and your body and stuff. So that's as long as you're not like knocking the knocking the microphone, just be aware of that. And because you don't have to put it like right up to the ukulele so that you can hear the sound. Imagine the microphone as like as your audience's ear. Okay, if an audience's ear is like right up here in the ukulele and you hit your uke, it's just gonna like blast your eardrums. Okay, so about right here is totally fine.
I mean, yeah, I think like even people who prefer playing with a mic and they, their shows are usually just sitting down and they're stationary. I think if they play a lot of shows, they probably will get a pickup anyways, right? Because there's just some venues or some situations where it's like, oh, we can't put a mic in front of you, or like if we do put a mic, it's gonna pick up all these other things. Yeah,
or it's gonna feedback. There's some stuff too. So like be wary of that. But I don't know, like a lot of purists, like especially like Tin Pan Alley players that like to play a lot of soprano stuff, like they don't like like plugging in their instruments or whatever. They like miking up their instruments because it gets that nice like very old school sound that they're going for, and modern pickups just don't give them that sound like a nice mic'd up ukulele would. So it's all preference really. Like I go to whenever I go to Europe, I see it more often than when I do like stuff at shows in the States.
Yeah, because like if you had a resonator ukulele,
You don't really need like to
Does
plug it in.
yeah, does if you were to put a pickup in it, does it translate the resonator sound?
That's true. I don't know.
well,
I don't own a resonator. I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting.
I've seen resonator guitars with pickups. So I'm guessing there must be. I don't know. How
It is
to
the
do
same
but
sound. Is it?
How does what type of pickup do you install into a resonator?
I imagine that like there's people who play resonators who have figured this out.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. So.
Or is it just like a mic on the inside, or like I don't know. Jim asked for as far as like if you're using a mic for performing, like where do you point the mic? Is it to the sound hole?
No, point it to the 12th fret. That's just I've experimented, and that's the best results that I get is when it's pointed to the 12th fret. Because if it's directly onto the sound hole, same thing. Imagine like your audience's ear being like right up against and directly, with your sound hole. So if you offset it a little bit, it's gonna get not just the direct sound from the sound hole, but the whole resonating ukulele.
Yeah, even when people have multiple mics, right? They'll usually put it like one like further down the fretboard and then one further to like the body, like going towards both ends of the ukulele to get you're trying to capture like that area almost, but then you don't want it focused like right on the sound hole either. So I think it's like I don't know, like everything is just like it really is just dependent on your situation and like where you play, because there's places where they'll have like microphones ready for you to just put a mic in front of you and then play, but then other places like they'll be like, we only have like one like mic for vocals, and you can use that, but if you just can plug in, that's easier for us. So that's kind of like the trade-off.
I don't like dealing with like feedback also. Like we mentioned that earlier, but like that's one thing that like even like the sound guy, like I'm sure he's like, oh my god, like back in high school we didn't know about like we didn't have plug-in ukuleles and stuff that cost money in high school. Like us in high school didn't have money, so we'd have to like mic up everything. And I even remember like Mark Baldonado when I first like joined the Makalea band, like, and he had like a pickup on his uke. I was like, oh snap, like a real pro then, I guess, like I'm gonna mic up my ukulele. And that fateful like ukulele competition that like Waimea Town Festival that we played at, I was mic'd up. He's like working the stage and stuff. I'm like, dang man, I want to be like Mark Baldonado when I grow up, But
I want to do that.
Yeah, and it was really something. But I remember like struggling in those first few years of performing the ukulele on stage and not having a pickup. And one of the biggest hurdles is that feedback, because usually when you're on stage, there's if it's a big enough venue, or if it's like some kind of like a big stage, they'll have like monitors on the ground, and monitors will basically like is a speaker just for you, so that you can hear what you sound like. And because the speakers pointing out to the audience is not going to give you the best representation of what you sound like on stage, because it's pointed out, and not to you. Monitor is on the floor pointing out to you. But if that monitor is pointing out to you and it's releasing, releasing sound, that sound gets picked up by the microphone, which then feeds back. Okay, so there's, or if your ukulele, isn't loud enough to get picked up, or if it has to cut through all the other noise, because using the example of playing at a festival, or like playing for like at a bar and stuff, there's gonna be all these other people like talking, all these other noises, so you're gonna want to turn that up, like the microphone, so that it picks up your ukulele, and by turning it up, you're risking the feedback. So it's a huge problem, and that's why I'm like, I just gotta cough up the $100 back then, like to install a pickup on my ukulele.
Did you get an external pickup, or did you actually install?
At first, I had an external pickup, and that was like $50-$60 or whatever,
Yeah.
you know. And it was the kind of like that I had to put like double sticky tape here, and it would like point down, and I would like, you know, like plug in my ukulele there, and there's like a wire that ran from the side here, and then I would have to stick it right there.
Yeah.
Or stick it here, wherever. And then, but when I went to the Philippines, I met a luthier who made me my first custom-made ukulele. His name is Emilio Lumanog. He's in, I think, Santa Mesa in the Philippines. If you guys ever want an ukulele, I don't know if he still makes and stuff. He's the first guy who ever made me a custom ukulele. He saw my ukulele. I had my Kamaka with me at the time, and he's like, "Oh, do you want me to work on that one too? Like, you know, I could like shine it up real nice and you know, and make it good." That's why my ukulele has that like that plastic black pick guard, because he worked on it. And my ukulele was just bust up from like high school. So, and when I got it back, it was like super nice. Like he sanded it down and put a new lacquer on top. It was nice and shiny. Then he put a, you know, he put a nice little pick guard. But what he also did was he installed that external pickup that I had inside. So he drilled the hole, he put it there, and then he took the that sticky whatever, you know, like pickup part, and he stuck it right underneath here. And I was like, oh snap, and like it just works. And it's like, and it was like,
but it was still like an external pickup, but
it was just inside. Inside. So it was kind of cool. Like I felt cool because that was a good pickup. But it's just, you know, it would like this double sticky tape would sometimes fall off. Like I had all these problems like when I was performing, you know, like my first few years of being not even professional, just performing on stage. But either that or this sticky would come off, and then like I would start playing and the audience wouldn't hear my ukulele anymore. All these problems, you know. But yeah, he installed it for me, and he's like, I hate to charge you this much, but it's going to be like, I think 500 pesos. It's like $10. I was like, no, take like 1,000 pesos. Take $20. Here you go. It's totally fine. You know, you just did me a solid. But yeah, no, like the whole thing, not just for the installation pickup, but like for the sanding. I was like, oh snap, okay. You know, here's 1,000. Like take 1,000 pesos.
And he's like,
$20.
like a well-known luthier in.
Well, Lumanog is a huge name, and there's tons of Lumanogs. So, but Emilio is the one that made mine, and I think it's Santa Mesa in Manila. But don't quote me on that. But it is Emilio. I think he's the only Emilio Lumanog that makes and stuff. I think there's.
So he is just like he comes from a family.
Yeah, it's not gonna be that price anymore. Let's just say that was like 2000s. That's 21 years ago. So don't expect like a $10 pickup installation or whatever. He knows what he has now, and ukulele is pretty popular in the Philippines. I don't think anyone gets that deal anymore. But it's there's tons of problems, like the like I said, feedback and trying to come up with with ways to overcome those problems, like installing a external pickup. I had problems with that as well, but once I got a pickup that or a ukulele with an internal pickup, I didn't run into anything after that,
I don't know. I think if you're a performer and you're performing at a lot of different places, which not everybody does, right? Like just having a pickup gives you options, right? Like, so, like if it doesn't work out where you can't put a mic, you can just stick your pickup in. And then if the mic does work, it's like, oh, okay. The pickup doesn't necessarily make it so the mic sounds worse, right? Yeah. It's just like, oh, okay, it gives me another,
and there's some people that swear by it. Like, I mentioned people in the in Europe wanting that kind of Tin Pan Alley sound, but guys like Sam Bonanno, like he likes that microphone sound, like he prefers it. He doesn't even like drilling holes into his ukulele. Like he digs.
Although
that.
he'll do it, he'll install pickups for people.
But for himself, like personally, he likes that natural sound, very wet reverb. Like he likes that sound. And that's cool. Like everyone has their own thing, but these are just what I've learned throughout my my journey, I guess, and that's what I'm sharing with you folks.
Yep. Renee asked, so you always use an amp? I do not like the way my uke sounds plugged in. It's not as sweet sounding as acoustic.
Yes. I use an amp. when I have to use those pedal effects that I'm talking about. So for example, like distortion and like heavy ones like wah and stuff, that's when I'll use the amp, because we're not going for a clean sound anymore, you know? So because we're giving up the clean sound for something dirty like distortion, then it doesn't really matter. And you actually get it cleaner if you plug into the amp and then mic up that amp instead of like plugging in whatever, you know, like to the pedals, to the distortion, and then plugging that straight into the sound system. That's going to be a bit much. That signal is going to be a lot, but it's one microphone signal that is picking up the signals from the amp instead, and that's why it's a lot cleaner.
Jim asked, he said, I guess the microphone sound quality will vary with ukulele size.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with anything, I mean, just sound like in general, it will vary with the ukulele size, plugged in, unplugged, whatever it may be.
Yeah, and that's why you like your DI, right? It's because like you can plug into your DI, and then from there it goes to, you know, if you guys are playing on a stage, it goes to the sound guy. But then if you want to make adjustments to your sound, you can just like bend down and adjust it, instead of being like, can you boost my mids a little bit more? Not those mids, like a little bit like more to the high mids, or like.
Yeah, and now I just tell the sound guys, like, can you just like make it flat, like from your end, okay? Just make it flat. That's it. I'm good. Like, that's our sound check lasts like 5 minutes or something. Me and you, Aaron, whenever we do festivals.
Most of it is just you wanting to play the rest of the song, the sound check song.
Just because so that I can get a feel of like where the loudest part is gonna be and where like the softest part is gonna be. Also, I kind of just want to jam. Just kind of want to jam. So like during sound check, I'll play, you know, like a regular song, and I'll play like a heavy instrumental just so that the sound guy gets an idea of like, okay, because like I don't want to just like check and stuff, and then the sound guy's like, okay, good, yeah, this is gonna be easy, and then during the show we're playing body surfing or something, I didn't know he was gonna do that. You know, so it's just letting the guy be aware of like, okay, he's gonna be doing that during the show, so I should get ready.
Even when we do like sound checks before we record, I ask you like, oh, can you play like the loudest part of the song? So then I can like, okay, that's where it tops off. That's where I'm gonna put the level. But I think too. So like your guys' live setup too. You go into your DI and then you go right into your guys' sound system. So even that, it's like. It's different from if you went into your DI into like an amp on your side too, right? Yeah. And then Renee like saying like, oh, I don't really like the sound of the amp because it doesn't sound like playing it acoustically, right?
Yeah. Of course not.
Yeah. There are types of amps that are specifically made to like accommodate acoustic instruments. So you might, if you're trying to go for that, you might want to look into it. They can be more expensive though, because like if you think about it, the common thing now with amps, right, is like everybody's plugging into electric guitars or something. Right. So that's kind of the trend.
Yeah. When it's good to not overthink stuff also. You know what I mean? Like, I think the more things that you add to your ukulele or your pedal chain, the more complicated, like too complicated. This is an ukulele, you know what I mean? Like, and that's another reason why I got rid of like the 50-pound pedal board that I was lugging around back in the day. It's just, it keeps things nice and simple. Because what I hated too sometimes is I was like, what is that sound? And where is it coming from? Like, which one? And you just like kind of turn on everything and you don't know which part of your chain it is. Or if it's like,
if you have just one like bad patch cable, right? Like you gotta like, okay, which patch cable is it?
It was just too much, and it was just too complicated. Also, like when Aaron and I play for like our Wednesday show here at the Oasis on Kauai, we just plug in and we just play. Like we just plug in straight to the straight to the sound system, like if from our DIs into the sound system, and that's it. And then plug our microphone straight to the sound system. When you start to add things on top of that, it's just gonna be more and more and more complicated. And there's some, there's some noises that might come out of places that you might not be aware of. It's just too much. So keep things simple. Like is my best advice. But if you're into that, if that's the kind of artistic mind that you have, they're like, I want all these sounds and stuff. I'm not stopping anyone from doing that, but to not muddy things up or to not overcomplicate things, I suggest keeping things simple.
Yeah, like I know some guys like they'll have like a A/B pedal, and they'll do like B is to their main pedal board where it's like all the effects, everything they need. A is just like a straight out like to the sound system or to their DI to sound system. But it's just like so that, is like if there is something wrong with the pedal board, they're not like, oh crap, which one of these pedals is it? Which, things I have to figure out, pull out. It's just like, oh, I guess I'm switching to A and I'm just killing all that stuff, like getting rid of all of it, right? So, yeah.
And like... let's see. How do I say this without sounding like like I'm scolding somebody? But like, because I'm not. And let's talk about Jim real quick because he's the one asking these questions and stuff. Yeah. So we'll go specifically, to Jim. Okay. When we see you performing at say the Ukulele Underground open mic, when we do that, what I mean by keeping things simple is that you have like a complicated setup, like that you're trying to like plug into the to your computer, and then like you're plugging your ukulele to the thing, which connects to the thing, which connects to the computer, and that's how it goes, and you don't know which side. Like, and sometimes it takes you like a few minutes to just to like get set up in order to play and stuff. And I think you have like a background whatever thing that you're trying to play so that you can play along to. And that's what I mean by suggesting to keep things simple. Because, say for example, if you play a Ku'u Morning Dew, like how you did, last open mic or the other open mic and stuff, if you just set up a regular like webcam or whatever, and just played a Ku'u Morning Dew straight from there, I think it would sound just as good. Right? Like it wouldn't be too complicated with the other things and whatever. If you have reverb on your ukulele or if you have like delay and whatnot or compressors, just play it. For things like that, if it's just like an open mic, it doesn't need all that fanciness. For this open mic, for example, I just plugged in and then that's it. Like Kahai is taking my dry signal. Like, are you putting reverb on it or anything like that?
Just a tiny.
Yeah, it's pretty dry, and we just play. I'm not saying like just play like me, man. Like you'll be fine. No, that's not what I mean. It's just if you just like shed off all the all that complicated like machines and buttons and plugins and whatnot, and just concentrated on playing the song. I think that would have sounded it would sound okay.
I think, yeah. I can see the other side too, though, like where we also said that open mics are like a good place to experiment.
Yes.
And especially like our open mic, because when you do this kind of stuff, right, we're not going to be like the audience where it's like, oh my gosh, how long is Jim going to take to set up everything? We're just going to sit there and then like when Jim starts playing and it has like reverb or whatever, it's like, oh, that's cool. So it is like a opportunity to test out those things. But if you find that it's like, I'm like getting stressed about all these different parts of it.
Yes.
Then,
yeah, because that was the point I was trying to make, is that like the more things that you add, the more things that can go wrong. And it has like in the past with Jim's performances. Not saying that like the performance is bad. It's just something wasn't working, or something was like too soft, or or something was like messing with the way that he sounds. And I know he sounds better than that, And it doesn't have to be that complicated. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like the more you add, the more opportunities for things to go wrong, I guess, or for something to not quite go as you want it to sound like, because whatever you sound like, say on the headphones or on, like in that office that you have, is going to might be different than what we hear as the as the audience. So there's all these like all these places where it can go wrong, and it will. Like that's just how things are when you're just practicing at home, when you're jamming by yourself, everything goes according to plan, everything goes super smoothly. But when that record button or that red light starts to turn on, everything goes wrong. That's based on my experience, how it always happens. I'm like, we're doing the UU Plus solos, and I'm like, oh yeah, I got this thing down. And then once like Kahai points that camera at me and he's got it recorded, I'm like, how is it that my fingers aren't moving like how I want it to move? It's just like either electronic or just your hands. Like things just don't always go according to plan unless you're Bruno Mars.
Well, like when you add on things to, it's called like the chain, right? Like so you're adding on things to your chain, whether it's like effects or whatever processors, whatever you need. But the more you add onto it, it's just like there's more points of failure, right? So if one point fails, then it's like, well, it kind of messes up my whole chain. So if you just kind of clean that up, where it's like, okay, I only have to focus on this one thing. I know everything else is like just really simple. Then, it's just less to worry about.
Yeah, just keep it simple. Keep it simple. Less complicated stuff, less things that could go wrong. Yeah.
Although but that's why it's like to each his own.
Yeah, that's true. To each,
because there are professional musicians who carry like a ton of stuff.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
It's because they're looking for a very specific sound. Like have you seen Mike Love's pedal setup? It's like it's because he does everything and he has a very specific sound that he wants for every single part of every song that he does. And so that for him, that's the only option.
Funny that you mentioned that. I was just talking to my wife about that, and she's like, he has a lot of pedals for just by himself. I'm like, yeah, but he uses them. I tell her, but he uses them. It might not sound like it because he's just playing by himself, but he's definitely using all those things in his chain. Or we don't know what he's doing there. Like Kahai's the only person that knows how all of this works.
Yeah.
So all good?
No, my cable's dead.
Okay. Okay, well it's past 2:00 anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
I just want to do a quick little reminder that for our songwriting challenge, it's going to be gifting a song to somebody, right? Like Secret Santa songs. So on the forum, go to the forum and fill out the if you want a song written for you, or if you want a opportunity to get a song written for you by any one of us, head over to the forum and type in, or not type. Well, what should they do in the forum? I don't know if did you set up the thread?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you just leave a reply.
So just leave a reply on the thread that Kahai set up for everyone for the songwriting challenge, for this recent songwriting challenge. Okay, it's fun. So just put it, put yourself out there. What kind of song should we write? And then if you get picked, we might write a song for you. Yeah. So I know I'm putting my name in there so that Aaron can write me a song. But right on, that'll be the perfect Christmas gift, Aaron. Can you not give me anything? Just write me a song instead, and to give you all the rights to it. All right, everyone. We'll see you folks at the Ukulele Underground Open Mic in just 15 minutes for those of you folks who want to come early, or 25 minutes for those of you folks who want to just come down and hang out. But we'll see you then. Tomorrow, Aloha Friday Live Jam. Next week, no Ukulele Underground podcast, but it'll be the week after. Check the calendar, everyone. Okay? Have a great one. Aloha.